What's everyone's Matt Rosick, and this will be the work in progress number 1 on the Graven Labs Beast prototype. So I've done the introductory video showing you the piece, how it goes together, and I did the comparison video with the Bushy Beast. So now we're gonna get this guy ready for paint, and there's really not a whole lot to do, to be honest. After looking at this for a while and deciding how I wanted to tackle this, initially I had planned on let's get the camera up here so you guys can see what I'm doing. Amazing camera work as usual. Hold on. My tripod's all loosey-goosey here. Initially, I had planned on gluing them all together and then painting him. I'm thinking that's not the best idea, simply because once he's together, it's going to be really hard to paint up under the arm and the leg. And the fit is really good. But I'm going to make it better. So it's a little loose right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this, and I'm going to fix a little bit of the gap that's here. It's not bad. Like once it's together, like there's like that gap is not even, I wouldn't consider that a gap. Oops, I always drop things. But where it's a little, it needs a little work, is it's like this leg is loose. It fits in there. But the key is, like the male part is either too small or the female end's too big, so it's loose. So I'm going to pin it and make it removable. But at the same time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'm not going to add magnets on this. I think I'm going to pin it, and I'm going to do my Aves epoxy trick. Let me see if I have magnets. I asked them to have the factory installed magnets on this guy. And they did in some areas, in other areas they didn't, because these things are expensive. I use the 1/4" diameter magnets, and they're like $1.50 a pop. So, and let's see, I thought I had more than this. I thought I bought some more. Maybe I don't. Maybe I thought I had bought some more, but I didn't. So, yeah. Anyway, I got enough to do. I got enough to do the legs, I think. We'll see. These aren't actually the magnets I want to use. These got the hole in them. I use these for like the Hellboy when I do the arms. So let me think about this. I get to think about this on camera for a second. Do I magnetize it, or do I pin it and use Aves? Either way would work. Magnets are just kind of fancier, but it may be a better idea to actually pin this and use Aves. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It'll be a more solid fit. So I'm going to move my camera again. I gotta get my brass rods out right here. Okay, so we're going to use the biggest size brass rods that I keep on hand are 5/32. Now I have some steel ones which are okay, but they don't have any give to them. Your pin has to be like spot on. There is a way around that though. I could also use 1/8" brass rods, which would probably be okay for this if I make them long enough. So I think I'm gonna stick with the steel just because they're more solid. And we'll just work on making the pins really straight. So those are two good sized pins for the legs. We want those nice and solid. Let me get my other tools out. So this is Tuesday night, and this is gonna be the one, just the first recording of part of this video. I'm gonna do this step tonight. This has to dry, and then I can do the following step. Once this guy is put together and solid, he's just about ready for primer and paint. There's a few little spots on the base I may tighten up a little bit, but for the most part, all you have to do is really work on this. And like for this key right here, it's got a magnet, but it's not strong enough and it's loose. So when it's on the base, it wants to pop out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I think the magnet's strong enough. Once I rekey it again, the key's really loose. So I'm hoping in production they fix that or put stronger magnets in, because with the magnet not being strong enough, it won't hold it in. If the key was the correct size, like if it was a tight fit between the friction of the key and the magnet, it would stay in. But right now it's all loosey-goosey, which is not good. And it's funny because they have a magnet in this foot, which I don't think you really need. It's funny, some of these guys, they put magnets where you don't need them, but they don't put the magnets where you do need them. And where they put them, they're usually not strong enough. So it's interesting. Now on Alpha 3 stuff, I don't think I've had anything where the magnets aren't strong enough. It's all been really good. So first step here is we're gonna make sure I got the right size. This is, yes, 5/32. And I'm not really prepared to start recording, but we're gonna just gonna go with the flow here. Got a bunch of little, oh, these are 3/32. Let me organize my drill bits real quick. I go through certain sizes very quickly, 3/32, 1/16, 1/8, simply because they tend to break a lot because I use them so much. Okay, so this is a 3. Let me throw that in there. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is I'm going to drill a pilot hole into this leg here. And I'm not starting off with the actual size. I'm starting off with a this is a 1/8 drill bit, so something a little bit smaller. Okay. So with this being, when I do pins and legs, I go as far as I can. So I'm gonna make this pin go. Hopefully I don't pop out the other side. If I do, it's not the end of the world. It's a little bit of putty work, but I do that every once in a while. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball the center here. So sometimes, if you're not a kit builder, you'll be drilling into resin and you'll see like liquid ooze out. Like I just had a little bit of ooze out there. Don't worry about that. Sometimes you hit a little pocket of uncured resin. But you can see I got a lot of dust coming out, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, so that's that hole. Now the next trick is to take some blue tack right here, and we're gonna knead this up and make it sticky. This, and we're gonna, now I know that this doesn't go all the way down, and I know this doesn't touch inside there. There's a gap in there, so I'm gonna actually get a pretty good size. I'm gonna stick it in there. Now this still has these pieces have not been washed in any detergent or anything, so there's still some mold release on it from the casting process. So if that's the case, the blue tack sometimes doesn't want to stick real well. So just make sure you knead it up. The warmer it gets, the stickier it is, and the better it'll work. And if that doesn't work, I may have to go in there and scuff that up a little bit. It's not wanting to stick. All right. All right, so I got the blue tack kind of stuck in there. Now I'm going to put this in there, and I want to make sure that when I put it in here, see, it's not even touching yet, so I need more blue tack. And this technique is hard if the mating surfaces actually don't touch. Like right now, this surface right here does not touch the joint, which makes lining up the holes and getting it accurate is tough. So I want to get this in there. I'm going to give it a squeeze, and I want to make sure that it's in there and lined up correctly. So I'm making sure that this is the only real gap I need to fix is right here in the crotch. That's the only spot that I see that really needs any putty work. So it's very minimal. And I think a lot of builders / painters probably wouldn't even fix that, but I'm going to. So right now it's where it needs to be. So now if I should pull this out, that's not what it's supposed to do. It's not supposed to stick to that. It's supposed to stay in there. I may have to scuff up the female end because this is not wanting to stick. So I'm just going to take an X-Acto knife and just kind of scratch this up a little bit. I'll give something the blue tack to bite into. Some tooth. Depending on how long this video is, this may just be the first work in progress. I may not just add to it. Depends if I decide to show the whole process. Okay, so that's in there now. Hopefully it'll stay in there and it won't come out. I'm gonna put this in there. I'm gonna give this a squeeze, and I want to make sure it's lined up. And when I pull it out, yep, it's still sticking. Yeah, this piece just must have a lot of mold release on it in there. If you don't know what mold release is, it's when they make the molds for casting, they spray them with basically a silicone release agent. So when the resin is poured and cured, the resin will release from the molds easily. I know some guys that do garage kits that do not use mold release, like Randy Cooper, who's I don't know if you guys would know who he is, but he does Starship models. He doesn't use mold release. The only downside with that is that your molds run out or wear out quicker. But then you don't have to deal with mold release. Hopefully this will. Dang it, that's really pissing me off. I don't know why. Okay, and the next solution is I'm going to put some baby powder on the end of this joint, and then I'll hopefully keep it from sticking. So, kind of like flouring a cake. Okay, stay. Yeah, it stayed that time. Okay, so now you can see in there, got a little peg sticking out. So there is, I can tell from here, the thickness of that blue tack. There's about a 1/4 inch of a gap between this surface and the joint in there. As a collector, you don't have to worry about that. It's just as a builder, it's just something you have to deal with. So don't worry about that if you have one of these statues on pre-order. It just makes lining up the holes a little harder and get everything lined up correctly. It's a little bit trickier. So normally I would use one of my little punch tools here. Let's see if I can. So now what I do is I take a punch tool and basically I'm going to go straight down and try to mark the inside of this joint. Now with that much gap, I have to be real careful that I do push straight down. And then I'm going to leave a mark. I'm going to give it a good push since I got all the scratches in there. And hopefully I'll see that. Oh, it's sticking really good now. Okay, so if you can see that, I think you can see it. You can see my mark right there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is using this 1/8 drill, I'm going to drill a hole there. So now seeing as I have the other leg coming in, oh yeah, I could do that. So I'm just trying to think, you want to get as much meat or resin in a pin. So like here, I don't know, I'll deal with that once I get this one done. There's that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill my 5/32 hole, which is the size of the pin I'm going to use. It's right here. And when you have a sharp drill bit, be careful when you're drilling resin, because if you've watched any of the other videos, the drill can get a grip of it and pull it right through. And I've drilled holes in my hands doing that, so. Like I said, I don't want to go through the other side, so I'm going to check how far I can go. If this was a flat surface, I could put my thumb on there or my finger and I could feel when that bit's about to come through, but since it's not, I can't feel that. So that's pretty good. Got about 3 inches in there, so that's a nice long pin. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing on this side, and then we're gonna try it with steel first. So now the way this pin comes, it comes straight across the crotch like this. So I did come through on the inside of this joint, but that's not a big deal. I mean, technically what I could do is I could use this same pin for both legs. I could, it's actually not that bad of an idea. Sometimes this shit just happens, you know? I could do that if I have a long enough piece of metal. I don't know if I do. Yeah, I do. I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this leg in place right where it's supposed to go, and I'm going to continue drilling this hole. I'm not sure what they have in planned for the kits or the factory or the finished pieces. If these are going to be, if the beast is going to come as one piece, I would kind of assume he would, but I'm not going to, I don't know, I could be wrong on that, don't quote me. Because when I'm done with this, I probably will go ahead and glue them together. If I was using magnets, I wouldn't glue them, but since I'm going to pin them, I'll go ahead and glue them into one piece. Okay, so now I got a nice pin coming into this leg. And I don't want to go through. And I went through. So I got a little bit of putty work. See, I screw up all the time, guys. I screw up all the time. But I'd have to fix it, you know? It's not the end of the world. Alright, so I'm going to take this rod. We'll see how well we line up. Shave off this label. I do need to make a separate update video for my channel. I gotta talk about the whole slideshow thing has fallen through at the last minute, and I'll explain why. And I'm gonna do another video. I'll do an update video about that, and then kind of like pricing and stuff like that, because there's a lot of I've seen a lot of talk about the cost of things, and I've done videos on pricing before, but that was for Gundam guys. I'm gonna do one for statue collectors, or for statue guys who hire painters. All right, so this will go in here. Now I'll probably have to cut this a little bit because it's gonna be way long, but I can see how well it lines up. And it's off a little bit. That's the disadvantage of doing with steel, is there's no flex, so I'm going to have to bend this just a little bit. Oh, I have another solution. Hold on. I have another solution. I'm going to put this in here. The trick is holding this leg in the proper position while I'm drilling the hole. Wish I had a much longer drill bit. That's not gonna. Okay, so that actually worked. So what I did is I held this leg in place and I came from the other side, and now the leg goes in there nicely and it fits very well. It's still loose because I need to kind of work on the key, but if I'm going to glue it, I really don't need to worry about the key so much because it's going to get glued together. But I probably will go ahead and do my little bit of putty work right here on the crotch just to kind of fill that gap a little bit. But other than that, this kit has a really good fit. I mean, and it's a prototype, so it fits pretty good. So now what I need to do is mark this key. Oop. I thought it went in more. Maybe not. Let's try this again. Yeah, it's in all the way. Oh, no, it's not. There it is. So, see, yes, this takes a little time right here. You gotta kind of play with it a little bit. I think I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna do that. Okay. I'm going to play this for a little bit and I'm going to come back. Okay, what I did is I just went back and I just need to work on this hole a little bit. And what I did is I went back to my drill bit, and the leg and the body, with the way the hole was drilled initially, wasn't wanting to sit flat. I was wanting to sit kind of like this. Which is that, and if it was a brass rod, I could have bent it into place, but since I'm using steel, so what it is, I took my drill bit and I just kind of went in a little bit of an angle. I just re-angled that hole. So now this should fit. So let's give it a shot here. So that goes all in the way. So this pin is pretty long. So it goes, well, my thumb is how long it is, so it goes all the way into the thigh there. Lots of support. And the way I have this done, and since I went through on the other side, it's actually pretty, it's not a bad thing because now I can actually see this all lines up correctly with the pins I've drilled, or the holes. So let's see. And I can see how the other leg fits. All right, so now with that pin in place, everything lines up correctly, and obviously I'm sticking out on that. I'm going to cut that off, and then that pin is great because now it connects these legs together. So I'll give it a lot of support right there, which is perfect. So that actually worked out very, very nicely, just like that. So now what I need to do is I'm going to mark that pin with a marker. I'm going to cut it slightly shorter. I'll get to my drawer. Sorry, guys. So I've got my Sharpie here. I'm going to mark this pin, and I'll cut it just a hair shorter. That way I'm sure that it won't stick out in the end. Okay. I'm going to make sure it's in all the way. So, man, that's gonna be a nice fit. That'll glue up nicely and make everything really nice and solid. So what that does, it also prevents this leg from coming out. So there's a certain order you gotta put them together now. Locks together. So now what I can do, since I'm gonna go ahead and glue this, I can paint the legs separately and everything. It'll be easier to get the airbrush where I need to get it, and it'll save me a little masking too. on the waist. So there's that. Let's put that to the side. There's that. Let me get my Dremel going. Let's see if I don't have a cutting bit on it, so let me put a cutting bit on it. The rod gets hot real quick. If I was using brass, I could just use my my big snips I have, and it could cut that, but I'm picking that like that because it's going to be hot. But since I'm not, I need to use a cutting bit. All right, so now we're going to test this again. Put that all the way in, and you got to put this leg in first, and then this will key in and lock it all into place. This guy's a weird shape, so it's kind of hard to handle. Okay. I'll make sure this all fits together perfectly before I do any putty work or anything like that. Okay, so I'm having a little trouble again to get that in there. So we're gonna so we're going on. So I'm already like between. So this one step right here will take me a decent amount of time just to get this going the way I want. Some guys wouldn't pin this, they would just glue it in without pinning it, but since the key's big, but I'd feel more comfortable adding a metal rod. Okay, so now we're fitting the way we want. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna glue that pin into this leg, so that way it pulls out every time. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. So I need some epoxy. Use some 5-minute epoxy. I'm going to get on my petroleum jelly, because the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to epoxy it and I'm going to put everything together, kind of hold it in place while the epoxy sets up. Yeah. I got these little cups here. So what we're going to do is, I only want to get epoxy in the hole. That's it. That's the only place I want epoxy to go and all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I keep a thing of Vaseline on my workbench because it's great for keeping things from sticking that you don't want to stick. So I'm going to basically put Vaseline around this entire key. And I'm not worried about it because this is all going to get cleaned later really well before I do any painting or priming, degreasing and all that stuff. So it's okay if this gets everywhere. It's no big deal. But I always put a very generous amount on this because you do not want to accidentally epoxy something or, you know, do something on accident and be hurting later. So I always put a good amount on because the epoxy will not stick to this. Resin won't stick to this. Aves won't stick to it. So it's a good thing to have around on your workbench. Okay, there's that. Now what I am also going to do is I'm just going to make a few notches in this pin with my cutting tool. Not real deep, these are just little shallow notches. that's going to do is it's going to give the epoxy something to bite into, something a little more grip. It's probably not a necessary step, but I like to do it anyway. And I don't need a lot of this because I don't want it all oozing out. Again, this epoxy is simply just to hold the pin in the hole. It's not to really do anything structural. That will come in the very end after it's painted and I glue them together. And we're just gonna mix this up really good. If you've ever used an epoxy, like a two-type epoxy, the more volume you mix, the faster it cures, and the more you actually mix it, the faster it cures. I've mixed larger quantities of epoxy before I'm even done mixing it. It's set up, so because it's a chemical reaction, but as it heats up, then the heat kicks it off too. So you want to mix it thoroughly, but you don't want to over mix it because you're just going to cause it to kick off sooner. So with this being it's a small amount, it's going to take a little while to set up. Okay. Just like that. Okay. Now we're just going to coat this pin. I could use that to stir it up actually. Coating it, especially where I got all those little notches. I keep a generous supply of Q-tips around on my bench. I got a drawer full of them over here. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to put the pin in. And I have some epoxy to use out, which is no big deal. So use a Q-tip and clean it up. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and put this in. Okay, I forgot to put this leg in first. Then I can slide this in. Okay. So that all locks together. I don't know if I have a clamp big enough. Let's see, do I? Just to hold this in place while the, yeah, this may work. I may have to do this off camera just because it's, this leg right here, his left leg, fits better just because it's got more like areas to key into on the body. This has less surface area to kind of match into, so I want to make sure that that's in the correct position. I'm off camera right now, so I'll show what this looks like when I'm done. I just want to lightly clamp this into place. If I can get an angle on it. It's a weird angle to be at to get it to clamp. So I'll show you too when I'm done. If I can get it to work. Sorry, again, I'm off camera here. Sorry, guys. It may not work. All right, so I'm gonna pause again. I'm just gonna hold this in place while it cures because I don't have a good place to clamp to. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so that's set up for a few minutes, and now I can put this in and out and have it come out. So that all works right now. Don't have to do anything in the hands. Those fit perfectly. So let's move on to the next little key that needs a little bit of work. Clean up my workspace here just for a second. Let's see. Looking for something that was out here. I just had it. Don't know where it went. All right. I'm gonna put him to the side over here. Get him out of the way. My work areas again. I just picked up from doing the Hellboy, and then, of course, as soon as I start working on something again, my work area explodes into a chaos. Okay, so I don't need to do anything to the hands. Those fit good. The heads fit perfectly. Put all those to the side. So this key right here on this finger, like I said, there's a magnet in there, but it's not quite strong enough and the key's loose. So this is where we're going to do kind of like our Aves trick. So let me get some, actually, you know, to make it quicker, I'm going to do a Bondo body filler. So what we're going to do, this is a quicker way of doing this, and since this is not a structural part, I'm not worried about, if this was like the legs or something and it was structural, I'd use Aves because that's really strong and it can bear a lot of weight, but this doesn't have to hold a lot of weight. Let me get a little piece of cardboard out so I can mix up some filler. Petroleum jelly, my favorite thing to use. Okay, so this is just body filler. People say Bondo. Bondo is actually a brand name. So Bondo is just a general term. Everyone says Bondo, but technically it's just body filler. That's what you use for painting cars and stuff. I used to be an exceptional Bondo sculptor. I used to be able to make all sorts of crap out of Bondo. Fenders, bumper, you name it. I don't need a whole lot, I don't think, so I'm just going to get some out. This is actually almost empty. That's probably enough. I'd rather mix more than I need. This is not too expensive. A gallon of this body filler runs about, it depends on the brand. Like this brand I've never heard of before. I just went to the auto body store where I used to buy paint supplies and got it. I think this is like $65 for the gallon. You can get it cheaper. You can get actual real Bondo. It's cheaper than that, but there are just differences. Actually, real Bondo doesn't sand as well as this does. This came with a blue hardener. It's actually a little bit liquefied, so I'm going to knead it a little bit. But actually, before I do that, I should put the petroleum jelly on the parts, on the areas I don't want this stuff to stick. And take these two out because they've been used up pretty good. Okay, so what we want to do on this is a better fit, is I want to make this hole the correct size. So what I want to do is, I don't want to get Bondo. I'll get it there, but I don't want it to stick. So I'm going to coat this area right here, again with petroleum jelly, like this gear. Right here. This will ooze out when I'm done. So when I say rekey, this is what I mean. This is the steps I go through to rekey something. Vision 2.0 has a Superman that they were working on, and for whatever reason, he wasn't fitting together right. They had actually painted up a sample prototype and it wasn't fitting. So Sandro sent me the master. He sent me the master casting, and I rekeyed it for him. So it all fit perfectly when I got done. On that one I used Aves because there's the way the sculpt is. So I'm just going to right around the edges here. And this looks really messy right now. It's okay. And this key probably won't look real pretty when I'm done, but it'll get the job done as far as that. I'm also going to take with my Dremel. I'm going to sand the inside a little bit. Then I want to take this as a primer off because Bondo really only will stick to metal or resin or other Bondo. It doesn't like to stick to primer. So I'm going to take that off. And since the key's already too big, it doesn't matter if I make it a little bit bigger. I'm going in there with a bit. Let's see, I'll take the small sanding bit here. I'll show you guys what I'm doing. Just got a small drum bit, and I'm just gonna go in there and kind of I'm just going in here and taking off some of this primer on the inside so the Bondo will stick. And there's a magnet in there. The magnet will still do its job. Okay. Okay. So I just went in there and took off the primer on the inside. So now for the production pieces, they'll have to either put a stronger magnets in. See, that's all liquefied. That's not good. Or they'll have to work on getting the keys to fit better. So this hardener, as it sits around it, will separate. So this actually may kick off a lot faster than I want. But oh, don't forget to put petroleum jelly on this side. I did this on the when I was doing the Vision 2.0 Superman. I was doing one of the keys, and I put my filler in and the Bondo and I let it dry, and I went to go pull the part out and it wouldn't come out, and I thought, oh my gosh, I forgot to put petroleum jelly on one of the sides. It just turned out that the key was such a good fit, it created a vacuum, and I had to work it to get it out. So okay, there we go. I really go excessive with the petroleum jelly, make sure I don't get the stuff where I don't want it. Yeah, this is way more than I need, but it's okay. So I'm just going to mix this up till it's a consistent color. Just like that. And we're going to kind of fill this in a little bit. Like that. Now before this starts to kick off, I'm going to take the finger. I'd rather have a little more than I need to have it ooze out. I'm going to stick it in there. And we're just going to hold it. This Bondo will kick off and shouldn't take too long. But I have, you can see I got Bondos oozing out everywhere, but because I put petroleum jelly all over that, it'll pop right off, and it'll only stick where I ground off the primer on the resin, so that'll just pop right off. So that's going to set up here in a second. So when that does, I'll come back. Okay, I've decided while that sets up on that finger, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this leg here. Might as well get that key to fit a little bit better and kind of just clean up this gap a little bit. So we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna coat this whole thing in petroleum jelly, the pin and everything. This, even on the outside of the leg a little bit. Now if any Bondo does get on it, it just pop right off. So I'm just going to do this one video. I'm not going to add to it because I'm already at 45 minutes and it'll be really, really long. Try to keep it to an hour. I was hoping to get this done a little earlier in the week, but life happens as usual. I do have this weekend completely open. I have the house to myself. The family's going to our lake house. I can't go because I have to work on Monday and Tuesday, and they're going to stay through Tuesday. So I plan on putting some serious time on this guy this weekend. Okay, so that's good. And we're going to do the same thing again. Go ahead and sand a little bit of the primer off on this guy on the inside. Actually, that's not primer, that's just bare resin. So the Beast isn't primed. That's impressive. That's bare resin right there. So I'm going to sand this a little bit to give it a little tooth, a little something to stick to. And to get the mold release off too, help. So that's pretty impressive. This Beast, the Beast part, is bare resin. There's no primer on this guy. That's how clean of a cast this is. That's pretty cool. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna leave. I want to get Bondo on all this area. I want to make sure I don't get it on the outside edge. So we're gonna. And when this oozes out and I clean it up, that gap will be taken care of. And this Vaseline just helps me from having to do excess sanding and removing of Bondo where it doesn't need to be. Because like I said, once it cures, it'll just pop right off. So again, I go pretty liberal with this everywhere. I said you do not want to accidentally Bondo something together that you didn't mean to. Okay. Side edge there, that's good. This looks good. The fur's all covered up. Okay, now this one will probably need more filler than this last one did. That's almost cured all the way. It's still got a little, I can feel here, it's got my thumb in it. It's still got some, I want to say, yeah, it's like still rubbery. It's not hard yet. I'm just saying this outside edge more because that's where I really want the filler to go to fill that gap that I got. So I just want to make sure that's going to stick really well right there. I'm just barely light hitting it with this. Very lightly. Okay. So now I'll mix up some more filler. And I think out of the whole kit, those are the only two keys I have to do this to. Once these are done, I'll put it all back together and I'll see how it all goes. The one, I thought about rekeying the other finger with this foot on it, but I think once it's all together and he's up there, I don't think it needs to be done. So I'll find that after it's all finished, and I'll decide if I want to do that or not. All right, let me get another popsicle stick out. Q-tips and popsicle sticks, can't have enough of those. You use Bondo or body filler, it stinks. I'm used to it because I used to paint cars for a living. But when I was doing the Mad X Hulk base, where I basically frosted the entire base with this stuff, I was home alone when I did it, and my wife came home and like, what is that smell? And then even after a while, my kids' eyes were watering and stuff from the fumes. I'm like, oh, I don't notice it because I used to use it all the time. So yeah, I'm not using a whole lot here, so it's not that big of a deal. But if you're using a lot of it, go outside where you got ventilation. All right. The more hardener in it, the faster it'll cure. I'm not worried about it curing fast. I just want to, because I need some time to work with it. But so now what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna worry about putting the other leg in, because with that other leg out, I'll be able to clamp this into place and get it exactly where I want while this cures. That's imperative. That's in the right spot. I think you can see. I think I'm still on camera. Sometimes I don't know if I'm in frame or not. Let's see where I'm at. I'm at 50 minutes. Okay. Yeah, we'll make this. Some of the Batman prototype videos I did were 2 hours long. Sometimes the Mad X Hulk videos were 2 hours long. I think it's too long for a video. I know some guys say they have these playing while they're building or while they're doing whatever, but most of it's just me rambling on. I'm not very interesting to listen to. Oh, another thing, one other area, which just to be safe, I was just thinking, where else I don't want Bondo? I don't want it in the hole where the pin goes. Even though the pin is got petroleum jelly, I'm going to go ahead and put some in there just to be safe. Okay. So now I'm going to fill this in. And it should get a lot of squeeze out, which is what I want. Okay, just like that. So I got that filled in there. Everything's coated in petroleum jelly that I want coated. And now I'm going to put this in there and hopefully, yeah, see all that Bondo come out right there? That's exactly what we want. See all that? Now that's not going to stick to anything. That's all covered in petroleum jelly. So, yeah, that's going to be perfect. So now I can actually clamp this, I think. Oop, I just got some fill on the backside here because I was on my finger. I didn't notice it. Get that out before it dries. Sorry, I'm off camera a little bit here again. Actually, I'm just going to hold this in place. It's right where it needs to be. So again, I'm going to hold this and I'll come back after this is set up a little bit. Okay, well, I'll decide while that sets up. That's how I work. I never plan anything out. This should pop out. Let's see. Okay, it's tight. So it was having a hard time coming out, but that's because the key is so tight, which is exactly what we want. So now you see we have the new key there and all this Bondo that was squeezed out. She'll wipe off. And the thing, I'm going to pull this one out a little sooner. Well, it's a little rubbery. And I'm just going to go in here and I'll clean this all up. I can see the sculpt right here where the, see, comes right off. Comes right off. Same here. All right. And if this is still a little too tight, I'll just sand down the male end of the key if it's a hair too tight. I'd rather have it snug because this will get, you know, primer and paint on it, so there'll be additional layers. But now you can see the new key. It fits beautifully. It's perfect. That's how you rekey something. So now that the magnet, even though the magnet's not real strong, between the friction of the new key and that magnet, it's not going to come out. No wobble. It's perfect. All right, so there's that. Now, let's see if I can get the leg out. Moment of truth on this one. All right, let's see. I'm going to be off camera here because I'm going to have to hold this guy pretty steady, I think. I knew this was going to be a tough one. I'm going to pause and come back. Okay, so I'm still working on this, but I want to show you how tight this is. It's in there good. It's not permanently attached, but I think I've got the same situation right before. I created a vacuum. All right, and there we go. Came out. I knew it wasn't permanent because it had a little bit of play in it. But I see what happened here. Some of the I think what happened, some of the petroleum jelly may have rubbed off a little bit when I inserted it, so it got in contact with some of the bare kit, which is not that big of a deal. But here's our new key. Just like that. And I'm just going to clean it up around under here. Like so. But you see how that, you see how it comes right off the areas where there's the Vaseline. Okay, so the main area I was concerned about is this right here. This is where I had that little bit of a gap. So I'm going to shave this off right here. Okay. And I'm also going to clean off the little bit of Bondo that got on here. Yeah, that got stuck to that. Oh, no, it didn't get stuck. I think, again, I just think it created a vacuum. It's such a tight fit. It's coming right off. It's not stuck to this. See? It's coming right off. And let's get off all the excess that we don't need. And then let's put it back in there and see how it fits. Once you clean up all the excess, it should go back in pretty easily. Perfect fit. And I got where I had a little bit of ooze out. You can see the slight blue line there. That's where the gap got filled, and now there's no gap. And I will sand that out just very slightly, just to round it over. You can see how shiny this guy is. He's covered in Vaseline. But man, perfect fit now. It's nice and tight. When that gets epoxied up, it'll be perfect. So that's what you want. You want a nice snug fit. Just like that. And so when I put the other leg in, and put this in, right away that'll prove how it locks together. But now he's in one piece, and those legs aren't going anywhere. And especially once he's done being epoxied, he's good to go. But so there you go. I'm going to call this work in progress done, because that's basically just keying the areas that need to be keyed like that. If my workbench wasn't such a mess right now, I would bring the base over here and try to set them up, but my hands are covered in Vaseline and stuff. But so that was like the main step to get things to fit correctly, is getting those few things rekeyed. I'll look at the one other area of the kit where I thought it may need rekeying. I don't think it will, now that the beast is solid and he's stable. But if not, then the next step is to give everything a nice bath. A nice bath with some degreaser or Dawn liquid soap and warm water and a scrub brush, and then get it into primer. And then once I get done primer, it's on the paint. So I was talking to Marcus about colors of the hand. We're going to do a candy purple. He sent me actually a picture of a VW Bug, which was the exact same color I had in my head, so we're on the same page there. But before I do the candy purple, I have to paint all these metallic bits and get those the way I want. I don't have to do anything weathering on that, but I have to get those painted because I have to mask them off to do the candy. So quite a bit of masking to do there, because his hand's going to go shiny with, you know, way it wouldn't be like a candy purple. And then he'll get some battle damage here, some light scratches and stuff. So there's some scratches molded into the sculpt. I'll have to ask Marcus how many of those he wants to pick out as far as like adding like bare metal look to it. I don't think we want to do all of them, maybe a few of them. So we'll have that discussion. But yeah, so that was the first step in getting this guy ready for paint. Not a whole lot, you know. Rekeying is just part of the game sometimes, and especially on these big pieces, you want things to fit snugly and securely. Like I said, now that I have this keyed, I will go ahead and, when I'm done painting him, glue him together as one piece. But yeah, like everything else, the heads fit really, really well. No worries there. Oh, I'm not in camera again. Sorry. The heads fit really, really well. The magnet's just strong enough to hold them in place. And all the hands fit really well. As I showed in the intro video. Especially that one with a little bit of a pin in it. It's so nice that they added that. Yeah, those fit perfectly. So there you go, step one in the Beast prototype. He's not a real difficult paint job. It's a big piece. A lot of people think, oh man, now I'm not saying that they don't take a long time, but just because it's big doesn't necessarily mean that it takes as long as something else. It all depends on how many details in it. The Vision 2.0 Captain America was crazy detailed. That's why it took me 2 months. And I worked on them a lot. So, but there you go. Yeah, it's cool. I did have one little tip break off here on the hand. I've got it over here. I'll glue that back on and fix it. That happened when I was trying to pull the leg out the first time. No big deal. As usual, I break things. Oh, and I also have to fill the hole over here where I came through with the pin. Again, that's no big deal. A little bit of a filler putty there and we're good to go. So again, thanks for watching. This is Matt Morozic. Stay tuned for part 2, or hopefully I'll be shooting primer. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time. Bye.